Thanks, Mr. Clark. We'll start with Mr. Barrett for 6 minutes, please. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Clark, how long were you residing in the old residence?
How long was I well, from the time I arrived, February 27th, 2023, until today.
The listing for that property describes it as a masterpiece. Is that right? Is that how it's described?
I know nothing about real estate.
Well, you're here to talk about it today, so I hope you're prepared to turn your mind to it. The Prime Minister visited you in New York City on April 27th of that year that you moved in. Is that right?
I believe that's correct. He was here on a mission. Yep.
Did you host the Prime Minister in the residence?
I did.
Did you show him around?
Around the residence? No.
Yeah. No, you didn't show him around.
Nope.
What did he comment on the look of it?
No.
So, but to confirm that on April 27th, you and the Prime Minister were in the residence that was deemed unfit for you to continue living in. That's correct. You were there April 27th.
Yeah, along with about 80 other people.
And on April 28th, you were in the limo with him in New York. Is that right? The next day?
That's correct.
So, were there any conversations regarding renovations, upgrade, moving, the former occupants of that condo, or you now occupying it? Any change in discussions regarding which representative in New York was occupying that space? Did that come up at all?
None whatsoever.
So we have government documents that detail how talks on getting a new residence intensified immediately after the Prime Minister visited you. You asked him for a new place, is that right?
That's incorrect.
So you're in the motorcade with the Prime Minister after he was just in this place that's deemed unfit for you to continue to live in, and you never said, look, buddy, thanks for the job. I could use a new jeweled onyx powder room and a handcrafted copper tub.
No, I did not.
How much representational space is there in the new residence?
Representational space would represent the majority of the space in the new residence.
Okay, that's interesting. So the dining room, living room, jeweled onyx powder room come to about 860 square feet. Does that sound about right to you? That's what the listing says.
I have no idea about square feet. I would refer you to the property division at Global Affairs who handles this.
So that leaves about 2,700 square feet for your personal use. 860 for representational, 2,700 for your personal use. So Canadians are on the hook for paying $9 million for 860 square feet when a perfectly good joint representational space is available at the same property that you're joining us at from today. Is that right?
Your numbers can't be right because that does not represent reality.
Okay, so what is the percentage of representational space in the new location? Please bring us back to reality.
That is a question, Mr. Chair, that should be addressed to the property division at Global Affairs Canada.
Well, you had a great deal of certainty to tell me that I'm wrong, but you certainly don't know on what basis I am. I'm referring to exactly the documents that were provided to us by the department that you're now referring me to. GAC's real estate agent told us that you personally visited the new luxury condo once the selection had been made. Was this a final vetting?
Not at all. It was after the offer had been made to buy it that I first saw it.
Did you ever take a moment, as someone who spent a career in journalism, to question the Prime Minister or anyone on the opulence of this location amid the backdrop of the cost of living crisis that we're facing here in Canada? Statscan saying that 1 in 4 Canadians are going to be using food banks to feed themselves and their families this month. Did that ever occur to you?
As I said in my opening statement, Mr. Chair, I am well aware of the challenges being faced by both Canadians and Americans when it comes to housing. In this case, I was not involved in any way, shape, or form in the decision to buy this new residence or sell the old residence. And that is entirely in the hands of the property division of Global Affairs.
When you host functions at the event, do you personally prepare the food? Is it done by your personal chef, or are these events catered?
I do not have a personal chef, nor do I cook the food, thankfully.
So these are catered affairs, because we were told by the real property division that the necessity for this was that the shared space that you have at the office that you're in now wasn't suitable to host functions because there wasn't a kitchen to prepare meals. So if the meals are being brought in, couldn't they be brought into your office that you're speaking to us from now?
The bylaws of New York City prohibit us from having a working kitchen in the office. It would be illegal, in fact, for us to put a working kitchen in this office.
If it's catered, it seems moot whether or not you have a kitchen in there. So we've been told that you're responsible for all of the trade success between Canada and the United States. Can you tell us exactly, just the number, how much trade business you have generated for Canada? Just the number, sir.
First of all, Mr. Chair, I don't know where or who said that I was responsible for all the trade between Canada and the United States.
Since you don't have the number, I'm out of time. Canadians want to know. You're the $9 million man. They want to know what the value is for Canadians. Sir, keep your bags packed in that new place. Conservatives are going to fire you.
Thanks, Mr. Barrett. We're going to go to Mr. Jawari for 6 minutes, please. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first of all, let me welcome Mr. Clark. Thank you for coming to the committee, and thank you for clarifying a number of things. And I strongly suggest you do not unpack anything. We need you. We need you now more than ever. So let me start by a couple of very clarifying questions that you have had an opportunity to put on the record, just for me to also put it on the record. Mr. Clark, did you have anything to do with the purchase of the new residence and the sales or disposition of the old residence?
Nothing whatsoever.
Thank you. Did you at any time talk to anyone regarding a desire for relocation?
Never.
Did anyone talk to you about the need for the move at any point, at any level?
I was aware as the head of mission that there were discussions going on with the property division. I was not part of those discussions. I did not involve myself in them in any sort of way.
Thank you. You mentioned the head of a mission. So let's talk about the mission. Let's talk about the great work that the mission is doing and the one that you're leading. You talked about that the diplomatic post in New York is responsible for 5 states. You mentioned it's responsible for $6 trillion worth of opportunity, and you talked about $200 billion in current trade that's happening. Just for Canadians, Canada's GDP usually is around 2.1, 2.2 trillion. So the mission is actually responsible for a trade in the order of 3 orders of magnitude. Do you want to make any comment on the size of the opportunity that exists for Canada?
Yeah, I want to make it very clear that any success that we have had in terms of trade with our region and with Canada is not because of me solely. I am merely part of a team down here that has done remarkable work. Let me give you a few examples because I think this was asked for in a previous question. We since April 2022, which is the last numbers that we have until now, we have made 65 foreign direct investment referrals to communities in Canada, including 161 economic outcomes for Canada, 35 new partnerships, and multiple investor visits to Canada and facilitated investments, including, as I said last week, the visit of Governor Murphy from New Jersey. These are very positive results that are being made by the mission and the people here at the mission.
Yeah, great. Thank you. You also talked about some of the border provinces that really heavily rely on you and the mission to be able to facilitate a lot of conversation with their counterparts in U.S. Can you shed some light on that one for us, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We host regularly ministers from the Ontario government, from the Quebec government. As you say, these are sort of the border provinces to my territory. but we've also had visits from the Premier of Prince Edward Island. It really is key for Canada that the supply chain, in particular, on some critical matters, whether it be critical minerals, energy in particular, which is a big issue here, directly affects the trade between Canada and the United States, but more particularly the trade from those two provinces and the 5 states that I represent here. So we do outreach into Canada, but more importantly, we encourage people. We encourage all politicians, in fact, to come down to New York to tell our story, help us tell the story.
Yeah, thank you. You talked about, it's interesting, you talk about you encourage all the politicians from all parties to come to Canada. I was looking at the document that was provided by Global Affair Canada, and I would thank you for all of this information. And there were quite few names, politicians from all colors, and including the former Conservative leader of the official opposition, Mr. Erin O'Toole, Manitoba former Conservative Minister of Finance, Conservative Premier of PEI. Can you talk about the portfolio of these politicals across the spectrum, political individuals across the spectrum, and what their focus area is when they come to New York, and who did they meet with? What kind of facilitation do you do? And I only got 45 seconds, so I yield the floor to you for the rest of the time.
I'll be very brief. When they come down, they are meeting with investors on Wall Street, and we have very good connections there. We put provinces and investors together along with their own teams who have got deep understanding of the economic opportunities in New York for provinces. In the case of Mr. O'Toole, I just decided that here is somebody who has probably some wisdom to impart, and so I invited him over for a meal at the residence because I thought that was the right thing to do. And at that point, Mr. Chair, I'm probably out of my time.
Yeah, with 5 seconds, I yield the rest to the chair. Thank you.